There we go. There I am. I'm beautiful. Look at me. I still don't know how I feel about doing this as a video medium because I don't like being on camera. And there's a good reason for that, as you guys can see. There's a reason why I was in radio. There's a reason why I did voice only. I don't like being on camera, and for some reason, I keep fucking doing this to myself. But whatever, we're going to run with it for now. Welcome to The Wasted Talent. I am Josh Beard. As always, another wonderful night. Just me by myself tonight. No fans day, no guests, nothing. It's just me and the inside of my brain, which is terrifying. I live here all the time, so I'm used to it. I'm sorry for you guys that you have to deal with it. But we've got a lot of good stuff to dive into today. We're going to start off with some really sad news. Tony Kemp, DFA'd, designated for assignment. I can't say that I'm surprised. Like, it was going to happen at some point, right? But it just makes me really, really sad. You're right. I think every Astros fan in the world right now is sad that Tony Kemp gets designated for assignment or is going to be designated for assignment for Carlos Correa to come back. And I love Tony Kemp. It's like another. My family was sad to see Marwin Gonzalez gone because we can't yell Marween anymore. And now with Tony Kemp, we can't yell Kemp and Ain't Easy. Like, that was our replacement for the Marween. And so now, without us being able to yell that, I don't know what to do with my life, if I'm being completely honest. But we move on and we deal with it, which is fine. But like, as sad as everybody is, everybody's kind of fine with it, right? I know I am. I know I'm okay with Tony Kemp being gone. Not completely okay. I'm sad to see him as a guy and as a Astro be gone because he meant a lot for this team. He meant a lot to this squad, and he's done a lot of good things. But who would you have sent out in his place? Like, would you have sent Jake Marisnick? Let's go through the list. Like, Yuli's not going anywhere, obviously. Like, there's the untouchables: Yuli, Brantley, Bregman, Reddick, Springer, Altuve, Chirinos. Correa's obviously coming back, but who would you have sent out in his place? It's not Aledmus Diaz. He just came back. You need two catchers on your roster, so it wasn't going to be Max Stassi. Miles Straw has been really, really good lately, and he's just incredibly fast. Jake Marisnick's been great all season. So who do you send out in Tony Kemp's place if it's not him? And it sucks. I hate to see him go. It's sad, but this is a good problem to have. Like, these are the types of problems that dynasty teams have. These are the types of issues and the decisions that dynasty-type teams have to make. Like, at the end of the day, these are really, really good problems to have. And it sucks, and you have to keep making these tough decisions, but Tony Kemp's gone. I hope he goes Tony Kemp gets designated for assignment. I hope that he has success with whatever else he does. But everybody else on this team is so damn good. They have so much talent on this roster that it gets to the point to where they're going to have to make these tough decisions. And so as much as I love Tony Kemp, I didn't want to see anybody else leave, and he has to be the odd man out because, of course, you want to bring Carlos Correa back. Carlos Correa is coming back after his freaking broken rib, which I just found out, like, ribs are fragile. And I know we all gave Carlos Correa a really, really hard time about getting a massage with a broken rib. I just found out that I have like multiple ribs out of place and that they're twisted because I'm an old broken man. And I feel kind of bad for making fun of Carlos Correa for that, but whatever. But Carlos Correa is coming back batting .295 before he went out because he's got 35. He had 35 RBIs. 11 home runs. Like, sorry, Tony Kemp, goodbye. Who else would you have had to go out? You guys let me know in chat over all of the multitude of different places that I'm broadcasting this right now. Who else would you have seen go away? Who would you have seen the Astros take away and designate for assignment if not for Tony Kemp? Like, oh no, Tony Kemp is gone. Yeah, but Carlos Correa is coming back, man. Last night I had Mike on with me at Zep1978. I got it right this time. Mike, if you're watching, got it right this time. But Mike and I talked about last night, like, yeah, you like Kyle Tucker, but if you can trade Kyle Tucker for a starting pitcher, you do that without blinking an eye. And so then you say, oh no, we might trade Kyle Tucker away. Yeah, but you might get Noah Syndergaard, who apparently the Mets are shopping him right now and hoping that they can find a trade partner with him, which is just absolutely nuts. I would love to add Thor to this roster. But, these are good problems for the Astros to have. These are the types of problems that dynasties have. The Astros know that they're in win now mode, and that means that they're going to have to make sacrifices. I said it last night, and I'll say it again. If there's one person in this city that I trust to make the right decisions... Brad says I'm broken. You're broken, Brad. Shut up. Hate you. I'm just kidding. I love you. But if there's one person in this city that I trust to make the right decision for his team, time and time and time again, more than anybody else, it's Jeff Luhnow, right? Like Daryl Morey, I'm not a Daryl Morey hater. I think he's made some suspect decisions, but he's also made some great decisions. And we'll see how Russell Westbrook and James Harden work out. But I think Daryl Morey makes good decisions, but nothing's come from that yet. Some playoff appearances and some winning seasons, and James Harden winning an MVP. But other than that, nothing's come from that. But Jeff Luhnow has put together a World Series team and continues to put together a contending World Series contending team. So I trust the decisions that he makes at the end of the day. So if his decision is, let's trade Kyle Tucker and other assets and whatever else we need to get another starting pitcher, you absolutely do that, whether it's Noah Syndergaard, Marcus Stroman, Mike Minor, whoever it is. I'm going to trust his decision to do that. Obviously, he has some misses. You know, they decided not to bring back Dallas Keuchel, which I'm kind of okay with. They decided not to bring back Charlie Morton, which I'm a little less okay with. Mike Fiers, they never brought back Mike Fiers. Mike Fiers has been pretty good. But for the most part, he makes good decisions. He gets Michael Brantley for 2 years, $32 million, while you see everybody else pay out the ass for guys like Bryce Harper. And Michael Brantley is an all-star this year. Michael Brantley, he's been the most consistent bat for the Astros all season. So if there's anybody that I trust more than anybody else in this town to make a decision, it's Jeff Luhnow, because he's creating a dynasty, man. He's not sitting here pussyfooting around. He's not sitting here playing games. He's making decisions that need to be made that need to be made for this team to continue to compete for World Series or for a World Series. I'll sacrifice 1,000 Tony Kemps. I'll sacrifice 1,000 like it's like old school battles where you have to sacrifice your front lines, man. If you want to win a war, you have to be willing to sacrifice lots of bodies. You have to sacrifice your front lines for the greater good. You're watching Game of Thrones. I wish Paul was on with me right now, or my buddy Paul Gallant. I wish he was on with me right now, because what did the Young Wolf do? The Young Wolf captured Jaime Lannister, but the way he captured Jaime Lannister was by sacrificing a bunch of troops. They lost a lot of good men, but they captured Jaime Lannister. Now, he ended up getting killed at the Red Wedding, and everything didn't work out in his favor, but that one specific battle, that worked out in his favor. You have to sacrifice those front lines. So I'll sacrifice 1,000 Tony Kemps. I'll sacrifice Jake Marisnick and his hair. I don't give a shit. Like, Jake Marisnick has beautiful hair, and I will cut it all off like I am Delilah and he is Samson, and I will throw him to the lions and hope it grows back. I'll sacrifice 1,000 Tyler Whites. Oh my God. I wrote this down in my rundown. And wrote down and didn't think about the ramifications of what how heavy 1,000 Tyler Whites would be. Like, how many Tyler Whites could you fit on an elevator? Brad says leave Jake alone. I'm not gonna leave Jake alone. How many Tyler Whites would fit on an elevator before it's at max capacity? Could you imagine how much land mass 1,000 Tyler Whites would take up? I hate to fat shame, but he's fat. But the Astros know they're in win now mode. That's why you're willing to sacrifice all these gods, and you sacrifice them to the altar of the baseball gods that gets the Astros another World Series title. You sacrifice everybody outside of your core guys, the guys that you need. There are other guys like within quote that would be considered in the core I'd be willing to sacrifice. Like right now, if somebody came to me and said, we'll give you, let's say Mike Minor. We'll give you Mike Minor for Carlos Correa. Do you not at least entertain that idea? We'll give you Noah Syndergaard for Carlos Correa. Do you not entertain that idea? Like, Carlos Correa is an incredibly talented player. He's a guy that we've been talking about for years as an MVP caliber talent. But there's so much other talent on this team. They've been playing relatively well without him. And now that they're getting fully healthy, they've been playing even better without him. So, yeah, Carlos Correa and his 295 average with his 11 home runs and his 35 RBIs, that's great, awesome, cool. But if you can get another starting caliber pitcher like Noah Syndergaard that's locked up for the next 2 years, for a guy in Carlos Correa who's been relatively injury prone and he hasn't quite lived up to the expectations you have for him, don't you do that because there's so much other talent on this team and because at some point other guys are going to get paid? Alex Bregman just got his extension. Michael Brantley's locked up for another year after this, but George Springer needs to get paid soon. What's going to happen with Garrett Cole? Is Garrett Cole is he going to bolt, or are you going to re-sign him? Are you going to bring him back? So like there's so much talent on this team. There's enough that you'd be willing to sacrifice other guys outside of your star core players. I would sell one of my kids if it meant the Astros get another World Series title. Right? I mean, I don't know that I actually would. I don't know that I wouldn't, though. I might not. My wife wouldn't, I don't think. And I don't think my wife would let me. Dude, Brad, why are you like... When does Carlos Correa hit arbitration? I don't know. I never I've had Derek Fogle, Sean Bajani, who else? Joe George. I've had Jeremy Branham. I've had like 16 people explain to me what arbitration is, and I still don't understand it. So I'm not gonna be one of those fucking radio guys that's, oh yeah, well he hits arbitration. When he does, he's gonna be arbitrated by that arbitrator for sure when arbitration happens, because you don't want to arbitrate him for too long because he might arbitrate all over you. I don't know when he hits arbitration, man. I'm not that in tune with the team. But I do like my kids, and I do like my kids. Brad says I don't like my kids, but I do like my kids. But I might sell one of my kids for a World Series title. Look, if maybe not one World Series title, but I think I might sell one of my kids if it meant the Astros could get like a couple of World Series titles, right? Like I was talking with Mike last night about like what I want. I want one team that I cheer for, one team that I root for, to be that Patriots level dynasty, like that dynasty of the highest order. I just once in my life, I want one team that I cheer for to be that for me, and if I have to sell a kid to get that, maybe. It depends on, like, honestly, number one, it depends on which one. Like, if it came down to, if the devil came to me and said, sacrifice one of your children to me at my altar, and the Astros will dominate and win a World Series, win every 2 World Series in a 3-year period for the next 20 years. If you sell one of your kids to me right now and sacrifice him, it just depends on which one behaved the most that day. That sentence made no sense. Figure it out. You know what I meant. But really it just depends on which one was the best that day. But I guess I need to create a criteria for choosing which child I would sell for a World Series title. Number one's behavior. Just brought that up, right? Who is the best that day? Because like with kids, I'm never mad at them over a long period of time. I'm mad at them in small moments, right? I'm never mad at my kids for like, I just hate them. But there are times, specific moments where I'm like, you're a dick. And so that's really what it comes down to. Thank you, Pablo. Pablo says he loves the show. I appreciate it, man. So like sometimes my kids are just dicks. So behavior's number one, right? But it's in that moment. It's not like overall behavior, because sometimes they're super sweet and sometimes they're dicks. Intelligence, I think it comes down to who's the smarter of the two, which is kind of like, I think at first glance, everybody thinks that my daughter is smarter than my son. I'm not totally sure. My daughter she's definitely book smart. She's definitely memorizes a lot of stuff, but my son's incredibly intuitive. He has just this insane memory, right? So it's just like who I think is a little smarter. I'm not sure. They're both pretty even. The cost. Right? If somebody came to me and said, you sell me your kid for a World Series title, like how much could I get for each one? They're both blonde haired and blue eyed, so I think both of them would be a premium, but it just depends on which one has more value to the other person. Future prospects. I think that's another good criteria for selling my child for a World Series title. What is the future prospects of each of them? My daughter's probably gonna, like, she wants to be a marine biologist. She'll probably do that, or be a doctor, or be some kind of concert pianist, or a professional tennis player. Like, it's her future prospects is like up here. It's like, it's from here. Her floor is real high, and so is her ceiling, right? So it's like she's either going to be a marine biologist or like a top ranked neurosurgeon. I don't think there's just in between there. There's nothing below that. Like, she's not just going to be a librarian or like work at the Gap. That's not my daughter's trajectory. But my son's real weird. Like, with my son, he could be just this insanely genius engineer, or he could just live at home when he's 35 and work at a GameStop. Like, it's just a wide range, super low floor. Just because when he doesn't give a shit about things, he doesn't try. So my son has a super low floor, real high ceiling. So future prospects, I really think, comes into it. Continuing a lineage, I think, has to be one of the criteria for choosing which child I sell for another Astros, for an Astros dynasty, which that's unfair in his advantage. My son can continue the lineage, my daughter can't, so that's kind of unfair. And then it's intangibles, man. It's which one tells me I'm fat less, which would definitely be my daughter. Even though I've lost like 50 pounds, my son still tells me I'm fat on a almost daily basis, it makes me super sad in my heart. And I don't cry about it, but I want to sometimes. Other intangibles like scratching my back. Daughter does that. My son does it, but he's terrible at it, so I don't ask him to do it. He's one of those like straight line fingernails, like he's trying to slice into my back. Not cool. But also I can throw a baseball with my son, and he tells fart jokes with me. So there's a lot of intangibles there. So I really I have some thinking to do. If I'm gonna sell one of my kids for an Astros dynasty, that's what I'm gonna get. But this is making tough decisions, right? Like, it would be a hard decision to figure out which one of my kids I would sell based off of my criteria for an Astros dynasty. Well, that's what Jeff Luhnow is doing right now. He's making tough decisions with his kids. He's making tough decisions with Tony Kemp and Tyler White. He's making tough decisions with prospects like Kyle Tucker and any other player when he's thinking about bringing in another starting pitcher, because these are his kids. At the end of the day, Jeff Luhnow has relationships with these guys, and he doesn't want to designate them for assignment. He doesn't want to trade them away, but he knows to have a dynasty, to be able to compete for a World Series, he has to do that. He has to have his criteria for choosing which child he sells for another World Series title. And so, like, it's really like I when I came up with this idea, I thought it was just outlandish and stupid. But then I started thinking about it more. It's like, I'm joking around about the criteria of how I would choose my kids. I would never want to sell either one of my kids. But that's essentially what Jeff Luhnow's doing from a business standpoint, from a humanity standpoint, from a sports standpoint. He has to sit there and choose which one of his kids he sells for a World Series title. And he made the right decision. He's made the right decision. I'm sorry, Tyler White, goodbye. It was fun. Like, he had a great stretch, and I do love Tyler White, and he was one of the most memeable athletes that Houston's ever had. Pablo says, I think I'd sell my wife first. My wife might be watching, so I'm not going to agree with you right now, but I think winking I would probably, if it's between my wife and my kids, I think she'd be okay with me selling her first. Which, by the way, apparently like 16 or 17 Marines got arrested today for drug trafficking and human trafficking. Like, it's disgusting for people to be in human trafficking in general. Drug trafficking, it's whatever. I can forgive that shit. Like, I can see people getting into. I can see a situation where I'm like, oh my god, that's a lot of money, and then me run cocaine for people. I don't do that, so please don't, please don't swat me right now. But I could forgive that. But like human trafficking, I could never forgive. But it's even worse when it's military guys and people that are that legitimately are supposed to have devoted their life to protecting people, and then they're doing that. But yeah, like 16, 17 Marines got arrested for human trafficking, which is disgusting. So jokingly, I would sell my wife before I would sell my kids, though. But if I'm Jeff Luhnow, I would take these kinds of problems all day long. I would take these kinds of problems all day long. I would love to have a problem like, who do I get rid of to win another World Series year in and year out? I would love to have to make the hard decision of, Do I re-sign Charlie Morton? What do we do with Garrett Cole? Do I make this trade for Justin Verlander? Do I designate Tony Kemp for assignment? I'd much prefer that over the, oh no, our franchise quarterback has no offensive line to block for him. Or, oh no, our star pass rusher is going into the season without a contract because the head coach and the owner are too busy trying to show each other how big their dicks are to realize they need to be in win now mode. Jeff Luhnow is just pulling it out and throwing it on the table. And he's not even thinking about it. While the football team in town, they're just kind of just barely grabbing it and just being like, see? And trying to show each other how big their dicks are. And they're not thinking about win now mode. But Jeff Luhnow is in win now mode. And he's making the tough decisions because he knows this is the opportunity to win now. Brad, are you asking me how much my wife would cost? Bradley, I need to know if you're asking me how much. Are you asking me how much my wife would cost, or are you asking me how much my kids would cost? I got to think about that for a second. I'll get back to you. I'll give you numbers in a second. Let me think about that. I'm excited for the Astros. And it sucks. It's sad. Tony Kemp, DFA, it sucks, but these are good things to have. These are good problems to have. So I'm excited about the Astros right now. I'm excited about what they're going to be going into the playoffs and how competitive they're going to be now that they're getting healthy again. Pablo says off topic, but what do you think about Cal McNair? Man, I don't know. I really don't. I want to give Cal the benefit of the doubt. And I think Mike, when I had him on at Zep1978, if you don't follow him on Twitter, check him out and check out Geek Media Corps. But I had him on for the first Fans Day last night, and he said something that kind of stuck with me. It's, I don't read a book. I don't just judge a book by its cover because he's big into books. I don't judge a book off of its first few pages. I like to read it for a while before I judge a book. And so I'm going to give Cal McNair the benefit of the doubt, but I just don't like the interview that he did on Sports Radio 610. I get doing it on Sports Radio 610, right? I get doing it for Texans Radio because that's his station. He can control the message. But at the same time, come out and do a press conference. Come out and do a press conference that everybody can cover. KHOU, the Houston Chronicle, 610 can still go, 790, 97.5. Let everybody come out and ask questions. Because as I love everybody in Texans Radio, I really do. They are some of the nicest people in the world. John Harris, DP Sidu, Mark Vandermeer, Drew Doherty, they're all incredible people. They are some of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. And I think a lot of the criticism that they get is just completely unfair. And they get made fun of a lot for being called Texans PR. And I think it's totally unfair. But what are they supposed to do? They're Texans Radio. Are they supposed to ask Cal McNair these tough questions? Are they supposed to challenge Cal McNair? They can't do that. They work for the team. And so, to me, it's kind of a cowardly move by Cal McNair to only do the interview on that one station because we have the this is our station and they're our flagship station and we have all the access. Do it for every station. Thank you, Brad. It's totally unfair. I love those guys. And I love all my Sports Radio 610 brothers. Honestly, the whole directive to talk only Texans is kind of a bullshit one too. I've never been, for the majority of the time that I was there, I was never told specifically to talk only Texans. For the majority of my career at Sports Radio 610, there was never that directive. And so it's an unfair thing, but for me, honestly, Pablo says John McClain's a sellout. I love John McClain too. I don't think he's a sellout. I think he has to be super careful. This is a different world in sports media and sports reporting than we've ever been in, right? Like John McClain, I don't think he's a sellout. He just has to be really careful with the way he does things, or else he might lose access. He might ruin relationships. John's also another one of the greatest guys, one of the greatest guys in the business. I love him to death. I'd love to get him on the show. Although I might have pissed him off. I hope I didn't, but I might have pissed him off with a tweet that I had. John McCain is dead. Oh my God, Brad, you know what he meant. I might have pissed him off with kind of a subtweet that I had about him, about a certain host getting a job in the afternoons and praising him for all of his hard work. but whatever. That's beside the point. But when it comes down to Cal, let's get back to Cal McNair. Do it for every station. Do a press conference for everybody. Don't be a coward and only go on your flagship station where they're going to toss up softballs and ask you very specific, very like telegraphed questions. Go there and answer hard questions from everybody. Answer the tough ones from everybody. And the second I heard him say, well, I've heard a lot of people on the radio say that, who are they going to know to call for a trade? Well, they'll know. They'll know who to call for a trade. The second I heard him say that, it just pissed me off. So I'll give him a little bit more time. I'll give him a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt before I make a decision on Cal. But early warnings are not good. I'm not super happy. I think he's a little bit over his head, and I think I feel like he thinks a little bit more highly of his ability than he really should whenever it comes to making football decisions. But whatever, he's been around the team. He's been around an 8-8 mediocre team for a long time, so he knows more about running a football team than I do, which is true. Even if they have been relatively mediocre for the majority of the time that they've been a team, that he still knows more about running a team than I do. So fuck it. What do I know? Let's move off of Cal McNair because it's just gonna piss me off again. I will absolutely have more Texans takes when it's not the first day of training camp, and I don't want to sit there and dissect every bullshit tiny move that they could make with their 53-man roster on the first day of training camp. And we will definitely dive more into Texans when it gets closer to the season. And hopefully I'll have a ton of guests on and do some fun things. I'm going to do some songs and things like that. But moving on to this topic, our final topic of the show, the NBA projected win totals per Caesars motherfucking Palace. I don't know why I wrote it in the rundown like that. I literally wrote Caesars motherfucking Palace. The NBA projected win totals from Caesars came out, and I think I'm okay with most of them. Let's start with the Rockets. They set the Rockets at 52 wins, right? So we're gonna dive into that. Do you guys think that that's fair? For everybody watching right now, do you think it's fair that Caesars Palace projected the Rockets to win 52 games? And I mostly agree with that. I do think it's mostly fair to say that they'll win 52 games, but it's going to be a really, really volatile season for them. Like, they have a brand new star player in Russell Westbrook, so he has to make adjustments. He's going to have to make adjustments playing next to James Harden because James Harden, no matter what he wants, no matter what other people may want, James Harden is the star of the team, right? He's the number one. He's the go-to guy. And Russell Westbrook's going to have to make adjustments based off of that. I don't think he's going to have to make a lot of adjustments, but he's going to have to think about that, and it's going to take time for him to come in and build that chemistry with James Harden, okay? There's going to be growing pains. There have been with all of these super teams. Even Kevin Durant had growing pains whenever he went to the Warriors. The Miami Heat, whenever they built their big three, they had growing pains. The Boston Celtics, way back in 2007, whenever they traded for Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen, they had growing pains too. It's harder for stars to get used to playing different styles whenever they've been used to being the guy. So it's gonna take time. There's gonna be growing pains, but I don't think it's gonna take too long. So 52 wins to me, that's a fair number. That's a pretty good number. I think it would have been less if CP3 was still on the team. Like, if Chris Paul was still the point guard for the Rockets, I absolutely believe that 52 wins they're lucky if they get if somebody projects them for 52 wins. Now, that's not saying that I don't think that they could win 52 wins. I just think the projection would have been lower if Chris Paul was still the point guard of the team. Like, chemistry or no, it's better to have, and it's better for it from a projection and a betting standpoint. It's better to have a 30-year-old MVP on your team rather than an overpaid 34-year-old who's always broken, right? Like, that's just inherently better. So if CP3 were on the team, it would have been lower than 52. And honestly, I could easily see them dropping into like 40, like in the 40 win territory though. Like, not 40 wins, but more like 45, 44, something like that. I could see projections dropping. If they would have put the Rockets in like that mid 40s range, I would have said that was fair too. But I mean, we go into the season with Russell Westbrook and James Harden, depending on how everything works out, and depending on how quickly they work together. This is going to be a really volatile season for them. This is going to be a really volatile from a record standpoint. Like, if it all falls to shit and it all falls apart, then they could get 40, 41 wins. This could be really, really bad if it just doesn't work, if there's no chemistry there. But if it does work, which I kind of am leaning more towards the side of star players learn how to play together, and when star players play together, they win. Maybe they don't win championships. Maybe they don't mesh as well and work as well as other star duos and other star teams. But when star players play together, they win. And in the regular season, they win games. So I could see the Rockets getting over 60 wins in the season. I could see them getting in the high 50s, like 57, 58 wins on the season. So I could honestly see them being anywhere between 45 and 60. So if 52 is right there in the middle, I think that's absolutely fair for them. If they drop into 40-win territory, it's going to be if they drop into, like, say they're on pace for on pace, guy. That's 2 nights in a row that we've said the phrase on pace. But say the Rockets on pace for like 42, 43 wins. Do we see turmoil between James Harden and Russell Westbrook? Like, if things aren't working perfectly, if they're not working fair, or they're not working well, do we see problems arise between the two of them, or do you think they'll continue to work well together? I don't know. Pablo says he's worried about the coaching staff. I'm worried about the coaching staff too, man. I absolutely am. We got to get these guys working together. So I don't know. I think it's going to be the NBA season in general. I'm super excited about. It's going to be great to watch. The Rockets are going to be a blast to watch. The Mavericks are going to be a blast to watch. Which, speaking of the Mavericks, they have the Mavericks at 41 wins. To me, that's so, like, I understand they don't have a lot on that team. And I understand that nobody knows exactly what Kristaps Porzingis is going to play like. And I know that 41 wins is a step up from what they were this last year. But I have to believe that with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis playing together, they're going to be better than 41 wins. They're going to be better than 500 on the season. Like, to me, the Mavericks should have been projected at more like a 46 or a 47. Maybe not a 47 because that's where the Golden State Warriors were projected, but at least a 46. Like, the Toronto Raptors without Kawhi Leonard are projected at a 45. Are you telling me that Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam are a better duo than Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Absolutely not. I was kind of surprised. I guess I shouldn't be, but I was kind of surprised with the 76ers projection at 54.5 wins. Which they're not at the top of the league. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Clippers, the LA Clippers, they're the top of the league. The Milwaukee Bucks are projected to have 57 wins. The LA Clippers are projected for 55.5. And I mean, that's the difference between that is Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, right? That doesn't mean that they actually think the Bucks are going to be better than the Clippers. It's just they have an easier conference and an easier schedule to deal with. But the Toronto Raptors being at 45 wins. 45 wins without Kawhi, and you've got the Mavericks at 41? That's a joke, man. I was surprised that the Denver Nuggets are at 52. You have another season of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray playing together and getting better together. It's surprising to me that they have them rated so low, and they have them rated that much lower than than the top teams in the Bucks and the Clippers, but it's still not bad. It's right there with the Rockets. I would just put them slightly above the Rockets. I put them more in I put them in the Lakers territory. They have the Lakers projected in I think it was 54.5, something like that, or they have the Lakers at 51.5. 54.5 was the 76ers, which I'm surprised by. I shouldn't be. Well, but with Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Al Horford, the 76ers, 54.5 is a little bit too much for me. I love all those guys. I love how they're all going to kind of mesh together, but that's just a little bit too high. But I'm super disappointed where the Mavericks are. But 52 wins for the Rockets, I think, is absolutely fair. I think that's good. I think that's doable. I think that's right where they're going to be. Before I end the show, can we just talk about this new Twitter layout for a second? Can we just have a discussion about what the hell this new Twitter layout is? Because this thing is absolute garbage. This new Twitter layout is a piece of shit. I just pulled it up to like look at stuff, and I absolutely hate it. Like before, they were like, "Hey, test out this new Twitter. Test out the new Twitter UI. It's awesome. Check it out. It's great." And then I hated it, and I'm like, "Go back to legacy Twitter, please." And now that option's not there anymore. If somebody could tell me how to change that, please let me know. But this new Twitter sucks. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for watching me tonight. That is the waste of talent for tonight. I'm Josh Beard. Follow me at Josh Beard Radio on Twitter, at Josh Beard Radio on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Josh Beard Radio. You can find me, Josh Beard and Tooth Pete, on YouTube, and you can find me, Tooth Pete, on Instagram, which I'm going to start posting on there a little bit more. I will be back on Tuesday, and I will finally, no more vacations, no more going out of towns at the wrong times. I will be going live every Tuesday and Thursday night at 9 o'clock, so I can talk with you guys on my fake radio show. I'm going to have lots of guests on soon. At some point, I'm going to have Jay Arnold on, an ex-Aggie football player, to talk about why Texas A&M is so fucking afraid to play Texas, and the stupid excuses that these brainwashed Aggie fans keep using, these cult members keep using for why it's not good for A&M to play Texas. I want to have him on to talk about that. I'm also going to have my buddy Paul Gallant on pretty soon too. We've talked about doing some stuff together, so get ready to see some stuff from Paul and I. And I've got a lot of other cool ideas that I'm about to start throwing around from a video standpoint. But follow me on social media. Follow me on everything at Josh Beard Radio or Tooth Pete on at Josh Beard Radio on Twitter and Facebook. And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everything. I appreciate y'all watching me, and I will see y'all on Tuesday.